Okay, now we're in record mode. Okay, everybody, this is Natasha. Say hi to Natasha. Hi, Natasha. Okay, Natasha is 17 years old, and I've known her for a few years now. She was one of the volunteers at our event and did an absolutely amazing job. I believe her hair was blue at the time.
Yeah.
So today on ParaTalk One-on-One, we're going to talk about being young and sensitive. She shares that with me, and I think it's really important to talk about this because I didn't learn about my sensitivity till I was like in my 40s. So when did you first notice that something was different about you?
I don't know. It was just kind of like little things. I'd wake up and it'd be something I thought was a dream, and I'd go tell my dad, and he'd be like, I don't know. Or it would be just kind of picking up on people, like the energies of people walking in the house. Like, for starters, we had somebody come clean our house, and she walked to the front door, and I said, don't let her in. And
Uh,
they're like, why? And I said, I don't get a good feeling. Don't let her in. I'm getting a bad energy from her. And they were like, you're just being silly. You're just a kid. You don't really know anything. And then she ended up stealing quite a bit from us. And they were like, okay.
oh, wow. Okay. And
Yeah,
how old were you when this happened?
6 or 7.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, has anything that you've ever seen or experienced really, really scared you?
No,
You've
not
never been scared? Because I noticed at the event, you went like straight towards the psychomantium. And I stayed away from that as much as possible. Um, so, you're not scared of it. Is it
mm-mm.
you're drawn to it or something?
Well, I mean, it's something my dad has kind of had something to do with my entire life.
Mhm.
So he's always saging the house and having a priest come and bless it, and just kind of going over all the archways and stuff and putting the crosses with the holy oil or holy water or something. So
Right.
it's always been something to me, and he's always told me that nothing can ever harm me in my house, and I don't really go anywhere else. And I know if anything did happen, I always have him to turn to, so it just kind of takes all fear out of what I'm doing.
Right. Okay, have you ever done anything like I'm just gonna ask this because a lot of kids do. Have you ever played with a Ouija board?
Absolutely not. And my friend next to me tries to get me to do it all the time, and I will not ever touch one of those. I do not like them because I know it's like opening a doorway, and
Okay.
I don't mess with Ouija boards.
Okay, now I know a lot of teenagers also enjoy going to like cemeteries and stuff. Do you ever do that? You
Yes,
do?
we have the witch's grave here in Haiti, and me and
Uh-huh.
my dad used to go to it at like really late in the at night or in the morning.
Uh-huh. What kind of stuff would you pick up there, if anything?
Um, okay, well, when I did go those couple of times, I was like 5 to 7, and the first
Okay.
couple of times I went, I was scared because it was dark outside,
Right.
so I really wasn't focused on anything. But all the other times, I didn't really pick up anything. I was just more fascinated about like the history of the witch's grave. I don't
Okay.
know.
I've
Um,
heard of that, but I've never been, so that's pretty cool. Now, I tend to stay away from just like I'll pick up on things when I go to certain places. Like let's say I'm at a restaurant or I'm at a store and I can pick up energy around me of the people around me, and a lot of times it's not good. And you'll see me kind of scoot over a certain direction. Do you do that? Do you notice that?
I do notice I do that, but I also notice how it affects my mood. Like I can be happy, giggling, and joking 1 second, and then somebody just walked past me, and all of a sudden I just don't want to talk to anybody. I just
So
kind of
you're
like,
so you're an empath.
mm-hmm.
You pick up on everybody's emotions and stuff. How hard was that for you too, to go through that?
It was kind of weird kind of growing up because as me and my dad got closer, our moods and everything just kind of aligned.
Uh-huh.
And it I'm sorry.
No, go
it
ahead.
it just I don't know, something like I slowly had to get used to, and especially after like the hurricane and stuff that
Mhm.
happened, when I would go to school, it affected me a lot because I was already in like a very vulnerable kind of state, but I also
Right.
picked up on everybody else,
Yeah.
and it was just really difficult. Now that I know that I'm like, oh, it's not my feelings. I'm okay. Just let this pass. But
Right.
before I let it take over my whole day, week, month, it was.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of empaths have a hard time distinguishing their emotions from others. And
Mhm,
so if they're around someone who's depressed and down, they get like that.
mhm.
So obviously this is what you're talking about. This has happened to you. And that's really hard at your age, but it's also kind of cool because you're learning so much. So by the time you become my age, you're just going to be reading everybody, aren't you? Okay, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I am going to mention when Natasha was volunteering for the event, before the event, we actually had a meeting for the volunteers. And she just flat out came up to me and told me, "You have some really dark stuff hanging all over you, and you're literally making me ill." I was like, oh, first of all, I think I was just like in shock because, you know, I try to cleanse myself all the time. I try to take care of myself when I'm around other people and in situations like that and stuff. But I'm so glad that the next time you saw me, you didn't see anything like that. I totally envisioned something like the Aliens movie, you know, this thing just hanging on me. So stuff like that. I mean, how do you deal with that? Do you just literally just go up to people and tell them that, or is it just because you knew who I was?
Well, normally, like when it even when it happened to you, I didn't even just come straight up to you. I normally tell my dad, and my dad decides like, I'm like, Dad, I'm getting a weird feeling off of him, and
Yeah.
because I just tell him everything, and he'll see my mood change too, and he was looking at me funny every time I like got up and left to go to the bathroom or something, or went to go fill our drinks, or just any excuse to get up, and he was like, "What's wrong?" And I kept blowing it off a couple times, and finally I was like, "No, you know what? Like I'm getting a weird feeling, like I'm getting really nauseous." Da, da, da. And he sat there and thought. He goes, "Well, with everything that's going on right now, it's something that we probably need to tell her." And he told
Yeah.
you, and then he came up to me and was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh God, I'm on the spot."
No, but that's a good thing. That's something that I would want to know because, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm constantly trying to protect myself. And around that time is when we were dealing with, you know, the whole psychomantium and the mirrors and all this stuff was going on. And so I'm glad you told me. I'm glad. That's a good thing. Okay, so what is it that you want? Is there anything that you want to get out of this for the future? I mean, are you thinking, you know what, I'm going to be a paranormal investigator one day,
I
or I'm
mean,
going to be,
it's nothing like I've really put my mind to. I mean, the things that I have felt or something are just more to help the people, like if like the empath, being an empath.
right,
If there's somebody down or going through a hard time, I'm there for them, and I feel how they feel, so I help
right.
them. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's not really too much out of the ordinary, and I don't really do anything with it or plan anything for the future. I just kind
Um,
of keep to myself, family and friends, and just kind of coast by.
well, I mean, the reason I ask this kind of stuff is because, like, when I first started dealing with My sensitivity, it literally took me about a year of staying home and keeping indoors and hidden from everybody because I was picking up stuff everywhere. And it scared me. And when you start, you start hearing things. Well, I don't know. What exactly are your abilities? Do you know?
I don't know. My dad says sometimes I can like see not the other side, but there was this one time I saw a shadow person in my house.
Uh-huh.
And like I was laying down and I thought I was dreaming and I woke up and I saw a solid shadow figure standing next to my bed and I got up and stood across from it and we both kind of were like tilting our heads like they can see me, and I kind of walked out of
Really?
the room and checked on my family and he followed me and then I walked back in my room and he stood by my window and I went, what do you want? And he just turned around and left and I was just like, okay. And I went back to sleep and I told my dad the next morning that I thought it was a dream. And he goes, I don't think so. The way you're describing it, it doesn't sound like it. And I
Right.
was just, so I don't really know all what goes on. It just kind of sometimes happens.
Right. And that's amazing to me that alone doesn't scare the crap out of you. Because I've had things wake me in the middle of the night, or I have felt like something is watching me while I sleep, and I get that cold and the tingling, and then I start to freak out, and all of a sudden it's like blankets over the head, like that's going to protect me. And and I freak out, and it takes me forever to try to get back to sleep. So for you to actually see that and interact with it and just go back to sleep and wait till morning to say anything, that to me, that's like incredible. It's like, oh my God. You must really like horror movies too.
I love them. I'm obsessed with them so much.
So I want you to tell me, did anything happen to you in the psychomantium while you were there? Did you witness anything?
When I stared into the third mirror or whatever, everything kind of went dark everywhere but the mirror. And I could see like it turned like white, like the mirror itself.
Uh-huh.
Like the whole thing just turned white and I kind of zoned out because I remember one of the other girls that went in there with me had kept calling my name and I guess I didn't hear her until she touched me and then everything went back to normal and I could see everything fine, but
Uh-huh.
the whole mirror went kind of like shaded out, like it wasn't a mirror anymore. And then but it was only that one specific mirror. It didn't do it on any of the other ones. But I just kept felt drawn to look at the mirror. It wasn't really I got a bad feeling or because I know how much stuff happened with those mirrors,
Right.
but it was more like I was drawn to just kind of look into the mirror than anything.
And that's weird because you went in there multiple times.
Mhm.
So it only happened the one time.
No, it happened with the one mirror, but
Oh,
all the time that I went in
but
there.
each time you went in there.
Mhm.
And you have no idea what that was.
Mm-mm.
Why it did that. Because we had so many different stories about what people were experiencing in there. And I mean, just the stories alone, I was just like, wow, I'm totally staying away.
Well, the air did get really thin in there. That's the only other thing that I realized is the air got like really thin.
Okay, let me ask you something. I know you're an empath. That's obvious. Do you get physical sensations do you ever pick up physical sensations of maybe the spirits around you or anything like that?
Sometimes I have, but it's more of like an in my chest feeling. Um, like if I walk into somewhere, I'll get like a really big tightness in my chest, but as soon as I leave, it's gone. Um, just kind of weird things like that. There are places that I was hurt like a long time ago, all of a sudden it hurt super bad, but as soon as
Oh,
I leave, it goes away.
okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is because I know there's a lot of people who are sensitive young and older, and they don't know like what kind of things to look out for, as far as abilities are concerned. We get a lot of phone calls for help, and a lot of times we'll go and it really isn't the home, it's the person. And they don't realize that they're sensitive. So, can you just kind of give some ideas of what to look out for, whether a person is young or older? What kind of things they might want to consider to be sensitive?
The only thing I really have anything to speak on is like the empath. I notice it most is if I was happy 1 second and I walked into a room and it felt like everything had been drained out of me, and that's where I really started noticing. Or if I was in one mood 1 second and then another, like in a split minute, it was crazy and I didn't know what was going on, and I started not sleeping and stuff just because of like the overwhelming feeling of like emotions and feelings and just the pressure of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of what led me to the conclusion of being an empath.
Okay. Now, let me ask you something. You're in school, so you're around people all the time in small spaces.
Yeah.
Does that bother you when you're in school, or do you kind of just like block or somehow put a bubble around yourself or anything?
Um, like I was saying earlier, after Harvey, I was having a really hard time because I was already in such like a vulnerable state. But afterwards, uh, like this past school year, I didn't really talk to as many people. I kept my headphones in most of the time and I kind of stayed to myself. And that did limit a lot of the extra emotion. But there would be times like I'd walk past somebody and be like, dang. Or I'll be fine 1 second, then be angry next. And I mean, it happens and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But you just have to take a deep breath and just kind of be like, I wasn't like this a second ago. It has to be somebody else around me. Just kind of take it one step at a time and figure out where your emotions are and other people's emotions are.
Right. One of the worst things that I've ever picked up came home with me, and I remember seeing visions of suicide, of a young lady slitting her wrists in a bathtub. And then all of a sudden, I was saying it.
Mm-hmm.
She wants me to kill myself. She wants me to feel what she felt so that I could be free. And I knew it wasn't my feelings, but even still, I was so depressed for so many days in a row that I finally got a hold of some of my teammates and told them, this is what's going on. I need your help. But there are so many people out there who don't believe in this stuff, who just automatically assume that they're the ones that are, just suddenly from one day to the next. I'm depressed. I don't know, I'm going crazy. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. How likely do you think that someone of your age or younger would actually tell their parents? Because I know you're close to your dad, but not many teens, they do that rebellious thing where they're trying to break away. How likely do you think that they are to actually talk to somebody and tell them, look, this is what I'm feeling, and I don't know if it's me or not?
Probably it's very low just because even when I go talk to teachers or I go talk to counselors or like even it's just a bunch of people, their automatic response is, oh, kind of suck it up. You don't have it that bad. Get over it. And so we, like, especially at school, so we kind of just keep to ourselves. And when something happens, something happens. The kids saw it coming, but nobody really, everyone just kind of blows it off like, oh, you're just exaggerating.
Right. And that's
But
sad. That's sad. And I know that a lot of people go through this. And yes, we do get it. Like I said, we do get a lot of phone calls, people asking us, can you just come here and validate that I'm not crazy? That, something's actually going on here and it's not just going on in my head. Um, and a lot of those cases involve children anywhere from a very young age all the way up to teenagers and beyond. And a lot of the times there has been teenagers that are sensitive, they don't know it, and they are actually bringing in a lot of negativity into the home themselves. Like I asked you earlier, are you playing with a Ouija board or are you doing anything like that? Because I know a lot of people think it's fun, and there are a lot of people who do believe that there is absolutely nothing wrong with using a Ouija board. It's just a form of communication, and so be it. But a lot of times personally, I think that that's very frightening, especially with a lot of the kids today. There are those that are really mature, and then there are those who aren't, who are just out for a good time, for laughs, for fun, just to get spooked. And so I'm so glad, Natasha, that you have decided that that is not for you. And, if you were to try anything like that, do it with someone who knows how to take care of, everything that's going on and knows what they're doing. Please don't be bringing none of that stuff. So let me ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. And I asked you this before we started recording. Are you sure you don't see nothing freaky around me?
I'm 100% positive.
Awesome.
But going back to one of your questions you asked me earlier is if anything's kind of creeped me out or scared me.
Yes.
I forgot about a story. Do you remember that trip my dad went on with y'all to San Antonio to somebody's house?
Yes.
That night I had a really vivid dream about a girl who I had never seen before, and I woke up and I had no idea where my dad was. He didn't tell me he was going to San Antonio with y'all. He just said he was going to town. And I called him, like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. I just had a really weird dream about a girl about 15, 16, and I described what she was wearing and like the room that she was in and her hair. And he goes, what makes you say all that? And I was like, I had a dream about her. And I don't know who the person was. Normally you have a dream about somebody you've seen. He goes,
right.
And he asked me to describe her again. I described everything again. He goes, that's to the T of the girl that we're in her room right now, that she's having issues. And that creeped me out because I was like, no, that he's messing with me. That really creeped me out.
Yeah, there were actually multiple girls there at the house when we were there. So that is actually really, really awesome.
That was really creepy.
I mean, it would have been awesome for me to know because he didn't share that, but that would have been amazing to know because maybe you could have kind of helped us figure out some stuff because there was a lot going on there. And I really appreciated the fact that he volunteered to go out there with us and help because that was a little beyond what we're used to, But we are almost at the end. I thank you so much for talking with me. And I hope that your story helps some other young kids or teenagers or even young, adults that don't know about this stuff. Thank you again, Natasha. Thank you for taking the time. And I guess I will talk to you soon.
All right.
And you say bye to everybody, please.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. Very quickly, I wanted to touch on some things that we discussed in this last episode. to make sure that you understand more of what I was trying to say within the subject matter. As far as being an empath or sensitive in any way, my honest first suggestion for everyone, because I went through this myself and I had this done myself, is to have a mental health evaluation done, a physical done, rule out any other underlying conditions before assuming that this is what it is that's going on with you. Like I said, I had all this done as well. I didn't realize I was a sensitive until I was in my 40s. So there was a lot of good and a lot of bad. Mainly bad at first. And it was very, very difficult to deal with this because nobody else around me knew what was going on with me. They didn't know how to help me. And so this was something that I had to experience and learn on my own. And that is my personal suggestion for anybody who believes that they're being influenced by other things, who might be picking up on visions, voices, anything like that. Get that done first. Rule everything else out. Okay. Secondly, we spoke about the Ouija board. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on the Ouija board. I personally feel it is just another communication device. However, no matter what you do when it comes to the paranormal, there's always that chance. Okay, there is a chance that you can go in there with the most positive attitude and still end up with something negative happening. So just be wary of that. And my suggestion is to always do things with someone who is experienced. That can help you if something were to go wrong. I'm also putting up the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at the end of this video, in case anybody ever needs to speak to someone. Just know that there will always be someone there to listen. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to making more.